Welcome to Goalposts. This is part 2 of my interview with CBS Sports Analyst, Super Bowl champion, my client and friend, Kevin Carter. Here's the interview.
Well, I think two things that are so important that folks know when you talk about hard work. One of the most interesting stats for you in a 14-year NFL career, life can get in the way for so many of us, whether it's, not feeling well or car accidents or, just the daily grind of whatever may happen to us in our daily lives. Of a 14-year career, you never missed a game. And I think that is such, when I think about that, it just is amazing to me in knowing that there were, things, life happens. And so for you to have a 14-year career and never miss a game is such an interesting stat that probably isn't brought up a whole lot, but it speaks volumes for dedication and showing up. The other part of that is preparation. We worked so closely together and have for the last 19 years. You came to me and we started preparing your broadcasting career and looking at the next chapter well before you were done with your NFL career. So I would probably say year 6 into a 14-year career, did you and I have a discussion about what's next for you? What does this look like after football? What do you want to do? What are you passionate about? And so preparing that far in advance, which you did, taking meetings with broadcasting stations and, having a mentor that helped you and worked with you. And I'll let you talk a little bit about that. But how important was it to be thinking that far in advance and preparing for that next chapter?
People tell you when you're playing in the NFL that, you really need to make sure that you plan for when the game is over with. And it's sort of a really scary, startling thought to think that, someday I'm not going to be doing this and who am I going to be? It's hard for a lot of players to take themselves out of their own skin and out of their own mindset and circumstances and fast forward 10 years in the future when there's no football. But that's a reality that we all really have to face. As far as not missing any games, I was lucky and blessed. And also there was, a lot of preparation. I trained hard, trained for it, and I just didn't know any better. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to miss any games, so I never missed any games. But that type of preparation, that type of dedication, perseverance, toughness, it's such an ongoing process. It's who you are. It's who you have to be in your daily life. You can't summon up this power to turn the page and know what's going to happen 10 years from now unless you're constantly working, you're constantly rebuilding. It goes back to that self-made man sculpture that I talk about. The hammer and the chisel just isn't for moments in your life where you hit a crossroads. My dad used to always tell me, and, you have to bear with me. My dad, I'm the son of a Baptist deacon. So he spoke to me in parables. And so he'd always say, Kevin, life is, you're either in a storm, you're either coming out of a storm, or you're getting ready to go into another storm. And that's how life is. And he would always tell me to, so how do you combat that? He says, you just be prepared. And so for me, that natural evolution, asking the question, why, asking the question, how can I improve? Asking the question, who will I be if my circumstances change? What will happen? Those questions, that constant itch in the back of your brain that drives you, that moves you, is something that you have to instill within yourself on a daily basis in how you live your life. And I was very blessed and fortunate to be raised in a household where the standard was high. The standard was, good grades and being a good person and saying yes, ma'am, and no, no, sir, and being courteous and just it was just who I was supposed to be as a Christian young man, and all the standards and everything in my life was always so high. It was, and my dad always told me, it's like, it's easy to do the wrong thing. It's hard to do the right thing. Hard to be disciplined, hard to study, hard to be where you're supposed to be on time, hard to always be consistently good or great. And for me, trying to not just measure up in my own mind, I was, how do I say this? I feel like my life is a constant paying off of not a debt, but or God makes us who we're supposed to be, and He sets out a path for us. And if we're diligent and we're persistent, then we can reach and be who we're intended to be. And we really have no idea, how, we fit into other people's lives, and we have no idea, how and whom we're going to affect. We don't know when those opportunities are going to happen, but our life is set in motion for us to live, and it's just like kind of one of those Mad Lib books when you were a kid, and you can kind of fill in the blanks with words, and that's kind of how our life is. We have free will. We can be whoever we want to be, and consistently being able to consistently work that hard and be that person and and persevere and go through the naysayers and go through 300-pound men trying to kill you on a daily basis, having to go through people trying to take your job, bad articles that may be written about you, about your character off the field that has nothing to do with whether or not you should get paid the millions of dollars you're going to make, or all the distractions of the circus that the NFL is. That's where I learned those skills. That's where I honed that ability to say, okay, someone's going to get a national broadcast job and be, a resident anchor, on a network. It's me. How can it be me? And so I've always felt like squeezing into rare space, or, rarefied air, or small spaces, or difficult to reach spaces, the mountaintop, if you will. I've always felt like that was for me. I've always felt like, God had a higher purpose on my life. I've always felt like I was supposed to be important. I was supposed to do things. And it's not an ego thing. It's more of, I've been given a lot and blessed with a lot. So to whom much is, given, much is expected. So I always walk around with a chip on my shoulder, like I've got something to prove, something to do, something more to rediscover and give to this world.
So that's a great transition, that when you and I first met, one of the things that was important to you was to start a foundation and figure out a way to give back, make a difference in this world, not just leave a mark, but for you, create a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
We talk about all the different things, the perseverance and, accomplishing great feats and being the person that, leads the way and achieving great things. To me, your legacy has very little to do with the accolades that you achieve. To me, it's everything to do with the lives you touch. The lives you touch, the people that you affect, and the change that you're able to bring about. If you're not doing those things and you have a platform like I've been blessed with, then shame on you. Shame on you. What's the purpose of your life? What's the purpose of your blessing? For you to just to be okay in case there's a quarantine, you can be holed up with your own private chef, on 50 acres on a lake, while everyone else is having to make do. No, we're not here just to enjoy life and take selfies on boats and be in casinos and take selfies with other superstars, and we're not here for that. We're here to help people. We're here to fight for those who can't fight for themselves. We're here to, make the world a better place, if you will, to be cliche. Um, for me, creating that legacy it was paramount to who I am as a person, as an individual. When I got on this journey a long time ago, and it wasn't just, when I came out for football after growing and, going from band nerd to prom king and captain of the football team and all that stuff and girlfriend's a cheerleader. It wasn't, for that wasn't the legacy moment. It wasn't the legacy moment when I was, it wasn't the legacy moment when I was in elementary school and I had a speech impediment and I was a really bad stutterer. And, you're there and my mom tells me that I'm going to be a great man someday and that I'm being humbled. And I'm like, really, mom? It's not about that. It's not about, the time in college where, when I was able to become All-American. It's not about, holding up a number 1 jersey in front of, with Paul Tagliabue. Yeah, Paul Tagliabue, that's how old I am. It's not Roger Goodell, it's Paul Tagliabue when I came out. It's not about those, but it's the culmination and the sum total of all of those things being presented, branded, and put on a platform that can actually get things done. That's the conversation I had with you in your office so many years ago. That's what we brainstormed about. That's what we talked about. How can I make this stick? Doing something in a moment and, making change in one moment in time is a wonderful thing. Up to that point, playing 6 years for the St. Louis Rams, I lent my name and my time to so many different charities, and they were all wonderful. Touched so many lives, and hugged so many grandmas, and kissed so many kids, and kissed babies, and shook hands, and did all that stuff. But it wasn't, it didn't have my name on it. It didn't have a lasting effect where this would be an annual event, or we partner with a major national organization to affect change in the lives of people that that are deserving or some way or in some charitable facet. That's what we talked about, and that's what we did. For me, it was taking all that I had done on the football field and meshing it with the person that I was on the inside. It was joining the platform of being this talented professional athlete who has over 100 sacks, and this guy who talks about college football and brings you all of your action on Saturdays, fall and CBS Sports. Being that person, and also being the person who says, this is what I stand for. This is who we're going to help. And because God has touched my heart in this way, we're going to do this. We're going to do this year after year. And we're going to affect change. We're going to help people. That legacy, that is the sum total of who we are. And my dad says it, and I'll say it again. And I haven't said this, but I'll say this now. We are the sum total of all of our cumulative experiences that we've incurred in life. And that's who you are. Everything you've gone through, everything you've done, everything you've persevered, all the heartbreak, all the triumph, all the good things, bad things, deaths, lives, everything. That's who we are, and that's what we have to give. Being able to present that on a platform like the Kevin Carter Foundation through Waiting for Wishes, that legacy PR events that's helped me with, is probably one of the most important accomplishments of my life, because there is something that says and documents all that I am and all that I've achieved and all that I'm able to spearhead and unite and bring this divine synergy of being glue between sponsors and superstars and businesses and all of this in order to make something wonderful happen. And to me, it justifies everything else. It justifies that guy sacking Mark Brunell in the background. It justifies all these jerseys that I've got on the wall. It justifies, me living in a big house. It justifies my life. It justifies me.
Well, and this year would be 19 years that we have produced this event and benefiting the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Middle Tennessee, which is just so special. And the children that you have met over the years and the wishes that have been granted I think we tried to figure out how many wishes were we able to fund through the amount of money that we've raised, and it's estimated right around 400 wishes have been granted on this event that has been 19 years, which is longer than your NFL career. This has lasted longer than the amount of time that you played, football. And I think that is such an incredible gift to the community. It is a wonderful example of who you are as a man. It sets the tone of who you are as a father. Your son has only known you in this capacity,
Right.
at hosting this event. That he's known this event his entire life, and I think it was maybe last year that we realized that your son was the same age as the event. And if you want to, if you wanted to know what it looks like, here he is at 6 foot. How tall is he now? 6'6"?
He's 6'7". He's taller than me. Get out of the way.
Yeah. So
19 years old, he's 6'7".
it just speaks volumes to the character of who you are. And for me personally, when I left to start my own business, it really kind of encapsulated that I wanted to find a way to help others give back, whether it's professional athletes, artists, corporate, or nonprofit. How do we help mold and create a legacy? And yours is really such a wonderful example for me in my career because we started so early. We roughly around the same age started back in our early 30s, and it's just been such a blessing to be part of that event, to have a tangible thing to be able to say we've impacted 400 families that were able to have a wish in a very difficult time in their lives where they have children struggling with life-threatening illnesses, that you and I in a conversation in my office 19 years ago, we were able to make that kind of change. That's what I want to be part of. And that speaks volumes to your character, Kevin. And I just appreciate all that you do. And I know that Make-A-Wish certainly does. Those families do. And just a wonderful, wonderful gift. So thank you.
No, of course. It wouldn't be, I wouldn't be who I am without that. I would be incomplete. I would be still searching, for some way to be the man that, I think, God has prepared me to be in this world. So yeah, no, thank you for that.
Well, and I think we would be remiss to not mention, Jay DeMarcus has been part of the event. This will be year. He's only been part of it for a few years. I don't know, 16, is this year 16 or something of that nature? But Jay brings his time and talent to it as well. And it's just gotten bigger and better. And it is truly the most sought after ticket in town. And it's just so incredible. People that attend want to, have a lifetime commitment to have their ticket. It's like, how do I buy a lifetime pass for this event? So that just speaks volume of how much fun it is, what a gift it is to be part of it. And it's just such a unique and intimate community. So we love being part of it. And I thank you and Jay for all that you do. I'd love to wrap up with a funny story. There's so many folks that know that there's all kinds of shenanigans that go on in the locker room. You guys are pranksters. I've known that for years. And I've experienced, some funniness here along, an NFL career and being a female in the NFL, and I could go on for days. But I would love, Kevin, if you would share a behind the scenes story that people can't find anywhere else, something that you'd want to tell us that is just, hey, this was really hilarious and I'm going to share this with you. So we're looking for a little bit of comic relief as we wrap this up.
Well, there's two short stories that I want to share with you. The first one is, I know we talked about a couple of things, but upon further brainstorming, I actually found another gem in my memory that I want to talk about. The first one is the story of when Coach Spurrier came to my living room in Tallahassee, Florida, so many years ago to recruit me to come play at the University of Florida. I had gone and visited Notre Dame, and I was being highly recruited. I was an All-American out of Tallahassee, Lincoln High School, and I could go anywhere that I wanted. I just visited Notre Dame. Lou Holtz gave his spiel, and man, I was so close to committing there. I promised my dad that I wouldn't commit on my visit. I would come back home and talk about it first. But I was so sold on wearing that gold helmet, and I really didn't know what was going to change my mind. Well, Steve Spurrier comes to visit, and I'm about to go and visit University of Florida that weekend. And he sits down in the living room, and he's talking about different things, and I can tell as I'm giving all of the answers to the questions that Coach Bob Sanders, who's the guy who recruited me, is asking. Coach Spurrier is just sitting in his chair, and he's just, he's being uncomfortable the only way that Steve Spurrier can be uncomfortable. And if you've ever been around him, you know this to be true. And he's shifting in his seat, and he's waiting, and he's impatient, and it's almost dissatisfied with what's going on. And so I'm kind of like, what's going on with this guy? Is he deciding that he doesn't want me to come play at Florida? Does he know something? Am I in trouble? I'm just a high school kid at this point, and I got, the head coach of a major university in my living room. So I'm nervous as all get out. And he says, I'm not going to imitate him because everyone does the Spurrier impression, and I don't want mine on camera anywhere documented. So I'm going to say it in my voice. He says, Kevin, my man, he says, you got a real opportunity here. You can go anywhere in the country that you want to go, and you're a great player. He says, I promise you. He says, you come to Florida. He says, you got some players like you. There's about 4 or 5 guys in your class that probably as good as on the same level as you. That'll be first rounder someday, we think. And he says, but you really have an opportunity to be the jewel of the bunch. You can lead the way, and a lot of other guys are going to follow. A guy like you. You mean more to this program. He gave me the spiel. It made me feel good. But the last thing he said stuck with me to this day, and I had to keep. It was all I could do just to stop from bursting out in laughter. He says to me, "You can go somewhere else. You can go to Notre Dame. You can go to Florida State and play great football and have a great life." He says, "Or you can come play for the Gators." He says, "But I'll caution you." He says, "You can come win with us, or you can go somewhere else and get beat by us." And he says this as plain conversation with no inflection in his voice, and he is dead serious when he says this. And I'm thinking to myself, man, what an arrogant thing to say, to someone who's looking at all these different schools. But funny enough, that was the thing that sold me. His confidence in everything that they were going to do and everything that he said that they were going to build at Florida, he was giving me a golden opportunity to be a part of. And, now that I look back on it, we rewrote the history books of Florida football. We dominated the 90s, and I know I'm showing my age, but we owned it. People hated us. They hated Coach Spurrier. They hated what we stood for, and there was nothing that anyone could do about it. The second story that I want to share with you was my freshman year, 1991, Tennessee Volunteers at Florida. We're playing in the swamp, and I'm 18 years old. I just had my 18th birthday a couple of weeks ago, and I'm a true freshman. We had a couple of injuries on our defensive line, and yours truly, as a true freshman, is starting. So I am nervous. I played a couple games, and I had a couple games under my belt, so it wasn't the same anxiety. But this was Tennessee. This was like a ranked team. They had All-Americans across the board. They had a squad. Johnny Majors was the coach, and all this pageantry. And the first opening kickoff, I'm on kickoff return, and there's a linebacker, and I don't know his first name, but he's number 46. So whoever you are, number 46 on the 1991 Tennessee Volunteer squad is a linebacker. Last name is Houston. He came down, and I turned around to block, and he mowed me over. I went tumbling probably 15 yards, just butt over teacup. And I go just sailing back, and I come to the sideline, and my eyes are all wide. And I remember Charlie Strong grabs a hold of me, and he's like, "What the H-E-double-L is wrong with you? Are you ready to play?" And my eyes were blind. He's like, "I guess I didn't get back quick enough, coach." And he's like, get your butt in the game. And he sends me out there. And I go through this game, and I settle down, and I make a tackle, come to the sideline. He's like, how you feeling? I said, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. And then the next kickoff return, again, the same thing happens. Number 46 runs down, and I have to block this guy. And he runs through me. Okay, talk about perseverance. Okay, I was questioning who I was and the fact that if I could even play college football. And here I am being charged with the responsibility of starting for the Florida Gators on national television. And here I am. There's some second team, third team linebacker who is beating the crap out of me on special teams. And I felt about this small. But lo and behold, I bounced back. And what actually decided the game for us was an interception by Larry Kennedy, a fellow freshman who was also starting, but the pressure came from Kevin Carter. I hit him as he threw the ball. He threw a bad ball. Larry Kennedy picks it off, takes it back for a touchdown, and we win the game. True story to God. I ended up making a great play to help us win, but I got roached, absolutely knocked out on the kickoff return on 3 separate occasions. I went back and watched the film just this morning. It happened 3 times. So hats off to number 46 for Tennessee. You owned me that day on kickoff return.
Talk about making adjustments. Yeah. Oh, those are great stories. I love hearing that. Thank you for your time, Kevin. I so appreciate you being with us on Goalpost and sharing your journey, your insight, and your passion, and giving advice to those that are trying to find the same for themselves. Young professionals and maybe folks that are looking for a career change. What do they do at 38, and are they going to have to pivot, and what does that look like for their next chapter?
You grab your hammer and you grab your chisel and you get to work. You carve it out. You write your way. That's what you do. And it's a never-ending process. The day that we stop evolving, we might as well die. That process of rediscovering ourselves never stops happening. I hope I'm 80 years old wondering what I can do and how I can affect this world.
Great. Great advice. Thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too, babe. Bye.